wanted to thank you all a bunch for just coming out and wanting to learn more and hopefully get more involved in this campaign for justice in Petaluma. I also wanted to thank the church. I don't know if anyone from the church is here, but definitely wanted to thank St. Vincent for letting us use the space. I like to think that the work we're doing here is very much in line with what this church believes in, which is justice, social justice, making sure that people are not taken advantage of, people are not put into poverty or put out on the streets because of greed or any other sort of social injustice. We don't want to stand for that, and so we feel like we're very much part of the tradition of this church and this building, whether or not we are all part of the same faith. Our agenda is pretty simple. I'm just going to give you a little overview of the situation from our perspective and what we've learned and what we've been doing together with the hotel tenants. And we're going to do that. We're hopefully going to hear a couple brief sort of testimonies and stories from several tenants who are here. And then the whole second part of the meeting, probably the last half hour, we're going to break into a couple different groups to formulate a plan for winning justice in this campaign and being successful in meeting the demands that have been put forth by the tenants of the Hotel Petaluma. So really quick, the Solidarity Network is a pretty new organization for Sonoma County. We formed last summer. Basically our mission is to organize around workplace and housing abuses and issues such as wage theft, harassment at work, deposit theft, evictions, foreclosures, all sorts of manner of workplace and housing abuses. And we do that through direct action. Sometimes we utilize, legalistic, measures, but very rarely. Typically, we rely on the power of a collective, of a community, of our membership coming together and asserting a certain demand. So that's why we're here today. Basically, what we do is we, put our name out there and we wait for people to contact us with their issues. And once they do, we set up meetings with them. We help them formulate a demand, what it is they want, and then we work with them to develop a plan for seeking that. So someone comes to us and says, I was fired unjustly from my work. We work with them to write a letter to their employer that says, I want back pay for the time that I was unjustly fired and I want my job back, for example. That's something we're dealing with now. So that's the organization. You can look more about it online, socosolidarity.net. You can see about kind of some of our past campaigns, videos. You can also look into our sister organization up in Seattle, the Seattle Solidarity Network, which we're based off of. There's also groups in the East Bay, Connecticut, all over the place. We're all volunteer. None of us get paid to do this. We're a pretty small group of people, pretty low budget, all that stuff. So we're regular folks, mostly working class folks, people who have rented, people who have had to work for a living and have some sort of experience with this stuff, and that's why we were involved. How this started, this campaign with the Hotel Petaluma, was that we were called several weeks ago by a couple different tenants of the hotel. As many of you probably know, the tenants of the hotel received eviction notices on February 15th of this year. Backtracking a little bit, the Hotel Petaluma been around for almost 90 years. Here in Petaluma, has long served as one of the only single-room occupancy units in Petaluma. Low-income, mostly for low-income, though not exclusively, housing. Really good source of affordable housing, convenient, located near downtown. It was bought up past fall by a man named Terence Andrews, who is a property owner from Marin. He bought the building. One of the first things he did was attempt to raise the rents, send a notice out, attempting to raise the rents by 16 to 18% more or less. Now that would have been an illegal rent increase. You're not allowed to raise rents by more than 10% at any given time, in one fell swoop like that. So he was actually pressured by some people in the community and tenants to withdraw from that. So he eventually raised rents by 10%. He lowered that, he was forced to lower that legally, raise rents 10% on people. At that time, he also told the Press Democrat that he wouldn't be kicking people out of the hotel. Okay, so it's going to be more expensive to live there, but at least people get to keep their homes, right? Okay, flash forward 2 months later, boom, February 15th, people get eviction notices. 30-day notices for people who had been living there less than a year, more or less, and for people who had been there longer, 60-day notices. So that's when the Solidarity Network was contacted by several tenants we started meeting with tenants, walking throughout the building, and just hearing people's concerns. Many of you are here tonight, because you've talked to either me or one of the residents of the hotel after this started. What we did then was to identify what are the demands of the tenants, what do people need most in the hotel, so we know what to put forward to the community, to Terence Andrews, what are we going to be asking for. The question that kept coming up, the concern was that this eviction is going to be such a hardship on people's lives, it's going to cost money to find a new place, to put down a new deposit, just to move itself, to take time to do that, to find people to help you move, especially for people with physical disabilities or other sort of factors that make it harder for people to move. It's going to cost a lot. So immediately, one of our demands became relocation assistance. We feel that it was a responsibility of Terence Andrews as the person who was evicting people to provide some sort of assistance to make sure that people could at least land on their feet and not be in deeper poverty than when they started. So that became a first demand. Secondly, we heard a lot about people being concerned that they weren't going to be receiving their rental deposits back. Because one issue that our group works on a lot is deposit theft, this seemed like a pretty likely scenario. We can talk about that more later. Many people have received their rental deposits, but there have also been a lot of shady things going on with excuses for not returning rental deposits, which we're trying to be vigilant about. So that's another demand, is that people make sure people give their rental deposits. Typically what a landlord will do if you're moving out and he doesn't want to give you a rental deposit is, if you've damaged the apartment in some way, he has to make some sort of repairs because if he can deduct, your deposit to make those repairs. We feel that because Terence Andrews is renovating the entire hotel, and that's his intentions anyway, that any sort of claims to, minor wear and tear, marks on the wall, things like that, are pretty irrelevant given that he's going to be renovating these rooms entirely anyway. The third demand, and probably the most idealistic, but one we nevertheless, as people who are committed to justice, had to put in the letter, was that if people want to stay in the hotel, this is their home and they should be allowed to stay in the hotel. We don't buy into any sort of arguments about making Petaluma nice as if it weren't nice already, or as if the Hotel Petaluma residents were not nice people. Anybody who's went around and talked to people in the building knows that people who live there are decent, honest people. Many of them are here tonight. So we don't want to see Petaluma gentrified. We don't want to see people displaced from their homes. And we don't want to see people, just because they're low income or they're seniors or they're disabled, to just be put out and just hidden away or tucked away or moved somewhere else. We don't want that to happen. People have a right to a home. We want to make sure that if they want to stay in their home, they should stay in their home. Unless they've done something wrong, no one has a moral right to kick anybody out of their home. We don't. Some might quarrel with that, but that's our response. That's how we feel about it. So anyway, we put this demand letter. We gave it to Terence. His first response was that if people are not out on the day that the eviction notice says, he will put locks on the doors. We made it very clear to him that that would be illegal and that we would take legal action against him if he did that. He backed down from that and decided, that wasn't a good idea. So he is since not threatening, I don't think, to put locks on people's doors. But a lot of other stuff has happened. Some of it probably is confidential. I don't need to go into right now. But needless to say, his response was he wasn't too happy about it. But the response that we got from tenants in the building was nearly unanimous. We are pissed off about this. We want some support, and we don't trust this guy to do the right thing. And we want to make sure he does the right thing, and that's why we're here. The community needs to come together and make sure that we can pressure him to do the right thing. And that's to offer assistance to people and not contribute to a greater social crisis of poverty and homelessness in Petaluma. That's our goal here, is to, and that's what we think is the right thing to do. Whether or not it's legal for him, he has any legal obligation to do that, not really our concern. It's the moral thing to do, it's the right thing to do as someone coming into our town from somewhere else, to not contribute to social crisis, not contribute to poverty and injustice. We don't think that anyone has the right to do that, whether they're a business owner or a property owner or not. That's not right, and we're not going to accept it. So many of you probably saw last week we did a tiny little picket. We've been in the paper and stuff like that. So we've been trying to promote the campaign, but this is our first real big, community gathering, and hopefully after tonight we'll have a plan for moving forward. Like I said, we're here to formulate a plan. We have these 3 demands, which are relocation assistance, make sure we return the rental deposits to everybody, and that people should be allowed to stay in their homes if they want. The strategy is 3-pronged, basically. We need to take a legal approach, utilizing our legal leverage with the courts. What are our rights as tenants? What are our rights to use that way? And we'll hear a little bit maybe more about that coming up. Political, so how do we approach the city council and city officials to demonstrate that this is a political problem, a political issue, that we don't want more poverty and homelessness and displacement in town? How do we make this a political issue? And then the third is community, grassroots, all of you. How are we going to be out, publicly, talking to people on the street, talking to businesses, organizations, and gathering that sort of grassroots community mobilization and support that can really help us win these demands and pressure Terence Andrews to do the things that we think he ought to do. There's a growing tide of displacement all around this county and all throughout the country, actually. With the economic crisis came people who want to take advantage of the fact that, people are poor, they're desperate, they're out of work. People with money, with property, are using their privilege, their economic privilege, to displace people and displace poor communities of color. On the other side of town, this exact same thing is going on right now in an entirely different apartment complex. And they're not here tonight, but we hope to work with them in the future. An entire apartment complex that's almost entirely working class, Latino, immigrant families is being destroyed to build a more luxury kind of condominium style housing. This is happening all over the place. People are being evicted, they're being displaced from their communities, and this is wrong. And through collective action, we could actually make a difference, and we could change the dynamic, stop the displacement, and help people keep people in their homes and homelessness, and fight back against poverty in Petaluma and everywhere. So that's what we're here to do tonight. Questions?
What's relocation assistance?
Relocation assistance. So we kind of came up with a figure of $1,000 per tenant that we think would help people land on their feet and not go into deeper poverty, and help compensate them for the time and the stress and the hassle of having to move out of their home. So that's sort of just a general figure. In other cities that have rent control ordinances, if a landlord were to do this, they would have to pay you that money, and actually more than that. We don't have an ordinance like that in Petaluma. I wish we did, and hopefully, as we build this movement, that's something we'll push for, more rights for tenants. But in other places, tenants actually are legally required to offer that relocation assistance. And 1,000, compared to other cities, 1,000 is a very small, modest amount, especially for someone who just spent millions of dollars buying this hotel.
How many units are in there, and where's the parking for that place, since they're going to change it to more like a hotel, upper scale living situation?
Well, there's 104 units currently. I don't know if that will change with the renovation. We could speculate on that, maybe someone knows, but more or less around that number. Parking has been a main issue. We know that people from Mike's Glass have talked to us that Terence went and tried to buy their building and tear that down, and Volpe's as well, to use that as parking. Obviously, the landlord, the owners of those businesses did not agree to that. That's a main issue. Where are people going to park? Are people even going to rent these rooms? Is Terence actually generally interested in having a nightly hotel? Those are all questions, very interesting questions for us to research as we go forward. But yeah. Cool. So I hope that's clear. If you have any questions, again, we have contact information on the way out. You can pick up our flyers, email us, call us, whatever it takes, if you have questions about any of these details.
I just have a quick question. Is my understanding some of the tenants are going to have to be moving in early April, sometime in the last of the eviction notice time is coming up. And how long do you expect that this action will take to actually, is it going to help anybody that's still living there, time-wise?
Yeah, well, that's part of what we're trying to figure out, is how we can buy time, and what sort of leverage we can use, and how can we garner enough community pressure, bottom-up pressure to buy people time. That's the goal. There's no guarantees with this stuff. We're not here to make any guarantees to anybody, but we're going to do our best, and that's what we're working on. Okay, so I don't know if folks feel comfortable. I don't know if Tom, you want to just give a quick, kind of background. Tom's been one of the residents. This is Tom Brackett. You want to wave your hand? Okay. We've been working with Tom in the hotel, one of the residents that's been involved in this, and so I just wanted to give people a chance to hear a little bit more from some actual people in the hotel about a little more.
Well, thank you. My name's Tom Brackett. I've been here now for about 8 years and 3 months. And when I moved in, there was order in the place. If there was any drug dealing doing, they had a tough guy. They'd come to your door, 3 of them, and they would be confronted and told to get ready, that they were going to be evicted immediately. That get your stuff together, and in 3 days you can come back and pick up your stuff. And there was no noise. It was a very peaceful place. It was really well organized. And then Jim Mastretti had a stroke, and he and his partner had to sell the place. And a guy named Miller, Robert Miller, bought it. And then the mortgage crisis hit, and he didn't. All of his collateral didn't amount to zilch, like everybody else's in the country. Everybody that owned properties really depreciated, and the whole country has been suffering ever since. And at that time, he had to surrender the ownership of the hotel to the bank, and the bank held it. And Robert Miller's loaded up a bunch of the furniture before he left and took it to some of his other places. I actually saw him do this. And his sister ended up being active with the receivership company that was now running the hotel for the next couple of years. And so there's some kind of collusion in there. I don't know how it all works. There are 2 addresses at the hotel. There's one on Kentucky Street. That's where the tax forms all come, and the businesses. And the former owner is called the Kentucky Street Properties. So anyway, it's really quite a mystery as to who this guy Miller, or who this guy Andrews is, really. From what I've heard from reliable sources in Marin County, is that he was a former owner of the Larkspur Theater, the Larkspur Art Theater. And he owned that and sold it, and then he was also a manager of the shopping center across the street where there's a Lucky supermarket. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Larkspur. Downtown Larkspur is a small town. And so we're just kind of waiting. And the thing of it is, nobody knows what his true intentions are. And the intentions, he seems to want to switch his intentions on a regular basis. He hasn't indicated who, for instance, are on his list of people who are going to be evicted. Apparently it's a secret, and so nobody really knows what's going on. There are all kinds of different words. The eviction is the final word of leaving, and then there's to vacate is another word, and these other ones, this is all law talk. Anyway, but one of the opening problems with the rent increase, Craig Krogstad and Mary came up with, Stavros came up with this law. We uncovered this law which says that rent cannot be increased more than 10% in any 1 month period. And he had violated that for both the rooms with the bathroom and for the rooms that were without a bathroom, because there are 2 rental scales here. And we found that none of the lawyers that we talked to and the people that should have known never even let us know about this sort of thing. It seems like it was such a fundamental law that should have been known. So I'm just kind of wondering, when did this thing really start with this guy Andrews? I mean, how far back did the city know what he was going to do? And so anyway, it's kind of a cynical bunch of lawyers in this town. And anyway, that's my take on it. You know, it's a simple law thing. It's in the consumer law and legal procedures for tenants and landlords, which is put out by the state consumer thing. It's a 100-page document, and it's a free document. You can see it right on page 31. Anybody can read it. Anyway,
Patty's got it over here.
Looks like this.
There it is.
You can order it. Anybody can order it. There's an 800 number you can call and pay.
Yeah, it's free.
Or you can contact
Or you can
PPSC
see it
and
online
raise
if you
it.
have online access. You can pull it up on the state of California website.
So anyway, I know that I have other things to say, but we have other things to do. And I just want to thank you, Carl, for doing everything you've done to get us all together. Thanks.
My name's Ruth Bird, and I've lived in a very lovely room, my own, living at the hotel for almost 14 years, very happily. And I've worked at the hotel through now 3 ownerships for over 8 years, and always very happy there until October, when we were literally taken over by Mr. Andrews and his family. They burst into the hotel office, demanded to be given keys, and demanded that Carolyn Miller give up her job as manager of the hotel. We hadn't heard anything from the bank that this transaction had taken place. So they have been a disturbance since the beginning. Very aggressive, extremely aggressive, utterly unwilling to even converse, let alone negotiate. And many, 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 many promises, many rent raises taped on the door, which were then mitigated to another rent raise, which was then another different rent. I mean, it has been chaotic there for months. And they were, well, I won't go into that. It's just been chaotic. It's been a very unpleasant place to be. And he resented my association. I know this because he said it to my face. He resented my association with the previous owners and was very unfriendly to me. He did, however, hire me to install a Christmas tree during the Christmas season. And after doing that, I presented him with a very detailed invoice. And then I left for New York for about 3 weeks. When I came back, and I still hadn't even paid for that Christmas tree, I went into his office and I said, you didn't lose my invoice, I hope. And my next month's rent was coming due, so I was hoping to use the $175 toward my next month's rent. And he just came up off his desk and started screaming at me about how inappropriate the amount on this invoice. He'd had this invoice for 3 weeks. How inappropriate the amount on this invoice was, how there's no way on earth he would ever pay anybody that amount of money for a Christmas tree, which he didn't want in the first place. I mean, it was really aggressive. And I just kind of stood my ground, which made him even angrier. And he became verbally abusive and demanded that I leave his, underline his, office. So I did. Which is why I knew that my deposit would never be returned to me. Ever. And I decided that he has, as soon as he asked me to bring my original deposit up to current rent, I did it. The very day he asked that, I did it. So my idea is, this guy's made my life miserable in ways I won't bore you with. He's causing me to have to leave a place where I've been extremely happy for a long time, living 1 mile from my family, my grandchildren, to return to a city I never thought I would have to return to. The least he can do is accept my deposit for my last month's rent. He refused to do that. He served me with an unlawful detainer, which I used to represent the hotel in court for unlawful detainers. I've never ever had even a credit problem, let alone been served with an unlawful detainer. I wasted an entire day that I needed to prepare to move to answer that. You have to submit an answer to the court. I worked a whole day on that, writing the letters, Xeroxing all of the threats he'd made to me. I'm leaving on the 31st I should have until the 15th. I don't. I'm leaving on the 31st. Now, he has told me, he hasn't signed anything, he hasn't made this an official declaration, but he has told me that if I am out on the 31st of March, he will drop the unlawful detainers suit. He won't put anything in writing. This man, by his own admission, has been doing these things to people for 40 years. He never loses. He's his own attorney in court. He knows exactly what he's doing. He won't sign anything. I'm done. Thank you for listening.
Is there anyone else from the hotel who wants to share a little something really quick before we break up into groups?
I'm Craig Croxton. I used to live at the Hotel Petaluma. When the paperwork started coming out for the rental increases, it just didn't look right. So I started doing some research. California Civil Code 1950.5, subsection H and I, notice of sale of the property and transfer of security balance forms. That wasn't passed out to us. There's several others. When the paperwork wasn't being filled out, it wasn't your name or directly. It was just a total scattered mess. So I'm glad I got out of there. And if there's something I can do to help these people, I'll be glad to.
Great. Thanks, Craig. Really quick, and then quickly Carol back in front.
Hi, my name's Chris. I'm 22 years old, and the Petaluma Hotel is my first house by myself, my first room. And that was something that I actually found is like my first space. You know, I'm pretty sure everyone can remember their first like little dwelling. And I really liked it. It was right across from the Phoenix. I could go to a concert whenever I wanted to, and I just feel like this experience for my first bout out into like having my own little nest of my own has just been so hectic and so just like, emotionally draining that I don't think that anyone should have to go through this, let alone their first time. So that's just what I want to say about it.
Carolyn, you want to say something?
Just real quick, how many people are still in the hotel? How many residents are there?
Let's raise your hands.
Got two behind.
Oh, well, I would say certainly less than 15 out of 104.
As a representative from Petaluma People Services Center, which provides social services in this community, I want to make sure that all the residents know that if you are low income and find another place, we definitely can help with rental assistance. And so we want to make sure that you contact us. Melody's been working. We're getting Orrin moved. We're going to use a special fund to get him moved. It's an unfortunate thing that's happening, but this is a community of caregivers, and we all know, and we've all experienced one way or another where somebody in this community has helped us to get to where we need to be. And so as the social services provider, we have have offered that up. One of the roles that we do play as a social services provider is we also provide fair housing in the city of Petaluma. And I know that we have had some conversations with tenants, Mr. Beckett, and some others on rules and regulations that are your rights as tenants, and help you if you need conversation. I believe Mel's even helped fill out applications for low-income housing for those of you who are struggling with that application. So what we really want to make sure you do is make that contact with Petaluma People Services Center so that we can connect you to all of the services that are available in this community so that you can get what you need on the social services side of the house.
Thank you. Sonia, I don't know if there's any more tenants, and then we're just gonna move into our last little section.
I wouldn't be here today, and if it wasn't for the last donors that helped me, the last 2 years, I wouldn't be here. I owe the last tenants a lot and people services because they helped me move in there. Now this owner here is a slumlord that wants money. Everybody. He's a piece of shit. He gives me help. He goes in my room. He goes through my things and my medication, and that's all right. If I did it, I'd go to jail.
Thanks, Lauren. Okay, Sonia, and then, yeah. Are you doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
My name is Michael. I'm a former resident. I've been there for 11 months, so just shy of a year for getting 60 days, so I got 30 days. I've not caused any problems there. The people I met are pretty nice. I'm low income. I paid most of my disability income to that place. Right now, I don't have enough to get another place. I'm currently homeless. I stay in my car. I just feel like what he's doing is wrong, and people like us should, deserve more. And I hope that we could do something about this to stop this kind of cycle from keep going, from other landlords doing the same thing. And, I guess that's it. So.
Okay, Sonia, and then we're gonna.
Okay, so I just have a question for Petaluma People Services, which is that it seems to me that the plan for this hotel is really to convert those apartments into much higher rent apartments. And, probably part of it is going to be a hotel, but they can do whatever they want with it. And it seems like with renovating, that they're probably just going to raise the rents to, $900 a month or something, and re-rent them to people that can afford that. So I was wondering if there's anything that Petaluma People Services can do to help find subsidies for the people that want to stay in their places. And I know that a rent increase isn't allowed, but if he's just going to throw everybody out, renovate, and let other people move back in, why can't we find some way to help these people stay in their homes?
We've had a conversation with him about whether or not he is going to do long-term rentals, and it doesn't at this point sound like it is, but we have continued to ask that question. We do have some dollars that we do use for a program called Close the Gap, where we make a subsidy for low-income people who qualify. And our funder at this point has limited resources, but they manage to always come up with some dollars that we're able to use for the Close the Gap. Again, it's an application process, and what we have to have you do as tenants and people coming in to apply is take the time to fill out the application, because our funders have to see that we've checked the right boxes. And so if you come into the office and you're not capable of filling out the application, Melody over there can help you, or Regina at the front desk. We have staff who can help you get those applications filled out. And while you're filling out those applications, what we can do is make sure that if you qualify for CalFresh or food stamps, that you get access to that. If you may qualify for Medi-Cal and you didn't know that you qualified for Medi-Cal, we can run you through the system to see if you qualify for Medi-Cal, so that we can make sure that you're getting all of the assistance that you need.
Okay, just real quick follow-up on that is that someone has to have a place to live to get helped by you, and if someone's living in their car and he's already on disability, you don't have all the solutions.
So we don't have all the solutions, unfortunately, and low-income housing is hard to come by, but as soon as we got word that they were going to change the ownership of the hotel, and people started to get their notices and people started to call us, we started reaching out to anybody in this community who may have extra space that they want to rent. Even PEP Housing said that they would rearrange some people on their waiting list in order to accommodate. So we reached out as soon as we possibly knew that it was an issue that needed to be addressed. Now, it's not a perfect world, unfortunately, and believe me, this is the last place I would like to be, is sitting here having this discussion, because it is unfortunate.
How many rooms are in the hotel?
104.
And how many were occupied when the eviction started?
It was 90%.
Okay.
I just want to say real quick that, like, the name of this program is Close the Gap. It would be equitable and appropriate if you guys helped close the gap by reaching out to the remaining tenants tonight and being proactive and calling them and being the ones who.
Okay, we've been trying to. We've been walking the halls. We've been with Tom, knocking on doors. So we've been,
I don't mean to discount what you were doing. I want to see proaction on all sides. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Elise, for answering those questions, and thank you for everybody and for the tenants again for coming here and sharing with us. With the last half hour that we have, I just wanted to transition into the really important question, which is how we're going to respond to this and how we're going to actually get the justice that the tenants of the Hotel Petaluma deserve. I agree with Elise that it's an unfortunate situation. I saw someone mouth this, so I'm not going to take this as my own word, but I would go a step further, and I think y'all would agree with me that it's not just unfortunate, it's unjust, and it shouldn't happen. And it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't. We can, and again, I really want to thank the People Services for helping people out and doing that. It's a great help. It's needed. We don't want it to happen in the first place. It's one thing to help people out when a problem comes up, but social movements and getting ourselves organized is what's actually going to prevent this from happening in the future. It's what's going to prevent injustices from happening in the future. We don't want it to be easy or efficient for people to be displaced. We don't want it to make it more, convenient and less of a confrontation. We don't want it to happen. It's not right. So that's why our group is here to take care of that end of the angle. If people and tenants that we're working with need to be put in better touch with People Services, that's something we can definitely help people out with if that's what they want. But we're here to take care of the other end of the angle, which is addressing the injustice and the moral wrong that's been inflicted upon people. So that being said, we're going to break up into a couple groups for about 20 minutes to get into these questions about what we're going to do. The three groups that, if you're not a tenant, that I would like you to be a part of, one is the action group. So what sort of actions we're going to take? Public actions. We have Carolyn hold up the sign there. Go meet with Carolyn, and Paige, also raise your hand. Hopefully will help us co-facilitate. And also snap your fingers for those who snap your fingers. All right. If you want to go in that group, go there. For people who want to talk about coalition building and outreach, who are we going to talk to in the community? How are we going to build the movement and get more people on board? Go talk with Jessica, snap your fingers. Jessica and Nico there. Then the media group. So how are we going to utilize the media, get our message out there, get more attention to this issue, and keep the issue on people's minds. I'll be over here with me. If you want to be in that. For tenants, we are really glad to have Patty here. Raise your hand. From California Rural Legal Assistance, who has been really helpful in just answering our questions and receiving panic phone calls from me, wondering what the hell's going on. And so they've been really helpful already in giving us advice and feedback and stuff like that. So for tenants who are here who want questions answered and are just curious about what their legal rights are and what sort of legal leverage we can use to either buy people time or get whatever it is that we need to further this campaign along, you can come over here and meet with Patty. So is that understood? Pretty clear? Okay, so we really want to leave here, for those of you who can, we want to leave here tonight with people actually committing to being part of this campaign. We want people to support the Hotel Petaluma tenants in whatever way they can. So go to your small groups and hopefully y'all can introduce each other, get to know each other.
Streets and that number of some counties increased by 40% between 2009 and 2011. So
they didn't have over there, but citizens following.
Just like if someone from each group just wants to give like a really quick minute, like 30 second to a minute report on what you talked about so the rest of us can hear all your awesome ideas. I know we didn't really prepare that in the groups, but hopefully someone can wing it. Someone from Action want to go? Carolyn, you've got some notes?
I'll just go real quick.
What's Action throwing at us?
So much great energy. People just had superb ideas. One of our big thrusts is going to be going to planning commission and city council. There's also going to be mobilizing within the neighborhood around parking, which is brilliant. We need help on all of these. So please, if you want to help, come see me and I'll tell Carl, or I'll tell the other contact people. We want to speak at City Council if there's a meeting between now and then. Another thing that we're talking about is doing an open house at the hotel. We need somebody to sign up for that, so please come talk to me afterwards if you would like to do that so we can start getting this one ready. There were some other ideas that came up that people are working on, don't have time to go into them. I want to say thank you to all of the people who sat around and did this great brainstorming. And thank you to the tenants and everyone for being here.
Thanks. All right, media. Who wants to? Who are you pointing at, Paige? Bobby. Energetic Bobby.
Bobby. Go Bobby.
Give us a synopsis off the top of your head. What are we talking about?
Okay, so a lot of what we talked about was getting in contact with newspapers and some like local access stations from here in Marin and everywhere around. Also putting more links up on the site, possibly getting involved with Twitter. Tweeting the more common populace, more people about. Also the website, getting some of the clips from this event on there, and things circulated on Facebook to talk about that. So that's all I can really remember off the top of my head.
Awesome. Anything else?
Is there a Facebook page already?
Oh, yeah. Letters to the editor. Yay.
Oh yes.
Yes. Press conference. Yay.
I'm glad to see I'm raising an activist.
Is this your son? Is this your son?
It's my boyfriend's son.
Awesome.
Good
Cool.
job.
Thank you, media. Thanks, media. All right, coalition building and outreach. What's up? What happened? How are we going to build this?
Well, we came up with a bunch of ideas for outreach. There's organizations that do homeless counts every couple of years, and we could definitely be building support and allies through those organizations. Counting people who already work and live here, what organizations and businesses we could just canvass, reach out to Petaluma. Having a fundraising concert at the Phoenix Theater, and tabling at Oculus Cafe and the Sunflower Center in Petaluma, and potentially the Petaluma Market, and Taps Bar, which is in the same building. And definitely there's an opportunity to work with Petaluma High students as well, to do outreach for like leaflet or like flyering through Petaluma High, getting the word out to the newspapers. And getting the word out to the folks.
Awesome. Thanks, Coalition Building. So yeah, I just want to say thanks again for coming. In the coming days and weeks, you're probably going to be hearing from one of us in the organization. The organizers who are going to be working on this case, really want to follow up with people and encourage people to keep staying involved and to to work on it or to contribute their own ideas and help you follow through. So that's what we're going to be working on. You'll probably get a call and or an email in the coming weeks. This is kind of a an emergency situation because the final eviction date as of now is April 15th or 16th. We're going to be kind of moving kind of fast on it. So just keep your ears and eyes open. Check your emails. Return your phone calls, please.
Yes.
And yeah, again, thanks for coming. I'm going to leave a hat by the door. Totally anonymous. If you can throw some money in there to give to St. Vincent Church, that'd be awesome. And if you're ever down here and you see anyone from the church, tell them you love them. I'm just going to throw my hat down by the table there, and if you can throw in $1 or two, because they give us the space for free. So it's just donation. So please if you can contribute, that'd be wonderful. Sonoma County Solidarity Network, we meet Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. If you're up in Santa Rosa or want to come check it out right now, I think we're changing our meeting space to KBBF Radio. It's on 1300 North Dutton Avenue. Check the website, the Facebook and stuff. But you're all welcome to come and get involved if you want to be an organizer with the group. And we have like literally 4 other campaigns going on right now. This is the biggest one with the most people, but we've got other stuff going on right now too. I'm going to hell. We have other stuff going on right now too. So check the website, SoCoSolidarity.net, Facebook. That's it. We always say end on a unity clap for those. Pal, I want to introduce Pal really quick. He's our union guy. Pal works with the Hotel Workers Union down in the East Bay, Unite Here, and I was hoping you could explain what the Unity Clap is and what we're about to do.
All right, so the Unity Clap is from the farm workers, and so when the workers in the fields wanted to holler at each other to conspire against the boss, they needed to send a little message out, and so the way they did that was, and some of them didn't speak the same language also, so this was a universal sign to signal that everyone was going to go have a meeting in the fields and do what they needed to do. And so, you know, you guys have heard it before. It starts out slow and then just gets loud and hype. And that's how it is.
And then we're going to end, once you get really loud and we stop, and then we end on one big clap and we say solidarity. Is that cool? All right.